Good morning. Good morning. Donna-Leigh Perfect here. I hope we're all doing okay this morning, friends. I put a post up an hour or so ago saying that, maybe a little longer, saying that I was going to be doing a live this morning. So I am going to wait for a few people to come on. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long live, this one. So I would suggest that you grab a cup of tea, a coffee, a water, whatever you want to do, and settle in for a little while I share some things with you. And I hope that you get some value. I hope you get some inspiration. I hope maybe even a transformation from this live. So just waiting for a few people to come on board. Hey, Mick, we've also got, we've got Mick Wells. Wow, my buddy Mick Wells, thank you so much for listening in this morning. I haven't seen you for a while. It's good to see you back on here. I know you had a little bit of a hiatus from Facebook and everything, which is always a good idea from time to time. I'm down at the beautiful Pissy Park and I've been doing a bit of a workout. As you can see, I've got my hula hoop in the background. Finally got my hula hoop back, which is so cool because I love hula hooping. And I wanted to get back into that because it's an amazing ab workout. So I'm here sitting in the sunshine. It's absolutely beautiful. Rocky Rockstar's down here with me and I've just been throwing the ball to him and he has been getting quite tired out with that, which is good. So he will come and go in this live and you can do a big shout out to Rocky Rockstar, the rescue puppy and the star of his own children's series. But I'm settled in here. I have some snacks, I have my water, and I am ready to share with you guys some. And some of you, here he is himself. Some of you have heard my story. Some of you have heard some of my story. Some of you have maybe not heard my story. But I'm going to be sharing with you my transformation. My transformation, just like the beautiful, magnificent dragonfly transforms from out of the nymph, out of the water, where it spends probably 3/4 of its life. I'm not sure if you knew that, but the dragonfly is incredible. It actually has been around for more than 300 million years, so before the dinosaurs. And it spends about 2 years in the water, immersed in the water as a nymph, where it actually does a lot of hunting. So it's a predator. And then it emerges out of the water and it starts its amazing transformation into the magnificent dragonfly. And during that time it spends probably, I don't know, a few weeks just flying, and it has flight with purpose. It changes direction with purpose. It is fast, it is focused, and it has a strategy. It has a purpose. It has beauty, and it brings so much joy to our world. Now, when I started this live, or when I thought about this live, I thought, you know what, I don't know whether I should, be sitting here and wearing my crop top and that kind of thing. And then I thought, yes, I am. Yes, I will. Because this is my transformation. And just like the dragonfly, I have emerged out of the depths of darkness and despair into this magnificent human being that has an abundance of energy, that has an abundance of life and love, and has an abundance of good health. And I want to share this with each and every one of you. I want to share my journey with you because I want to inspire each and every one of you. Each and every one of you that might be in lockdown right now, all over the world. We have my friends in New Zealand now in lockdown. We have friends in Victoria in lockdown. There are stages of lockdown in Tasmania and South Australia and other parts of the world. UK, I know, is going into stages of lockdown. So we have people all over the world now sitting in their homes and wondering where their life is going, where the direction of their business is going, and sitting and contemplating. And I know I'm sitting out here right now in the forest where I'm getting some beautiful vitamin D, and I am blessed and I am grateful for that. I have been exercising and working out to get to my absolute ultimate health and nutrition. So not only can I fight this virus if it ever comes knocking on my door with a strong immune system, but with, most importantly, a strong mindset, a positive mindset. And this is what I want to share with you. So for those of you that don't know me, hi everybody that's coming on board, and please, you can actually start a watch party and share this with people so that this message gets out there to as many people in lockdown as possible. So I was born in 1966 in Auckland, and I'm a twin, and I'm the youngest of 5 siblings, and I have older brothers and sister. In fact, my older brother passed away from cancer not so long ago, only at 55 years old. But I'm the youngest, and so, when you are the youngest in a big family, immediately you are born, I believe, into a level of adversity, a level of resilience, a level of delayed gratification. So we used to have to hand down all the toys and the bikes and everything, and I was the last to get what was left. And that was something I was grateful for, that I got the opportunity to have those things, no matter how battered and well-loved they were. It didn't matter. I got to share them, and I got to experience them, and I got to play with them with my siblings. And up until the age of 7, I thought my life was pretty normal. I spent a lot of time outdoors, like I am now, and like I still love to do, just playing in the streets until the street lights came on, and then we'd go home and we'd have dinner. And that was kind of our curfew. Life was pretty good. Until one morning in August 1973, when everything changed in my world. When I woke to the piercing screams of my mum, and I didn't know what was going on. I jumped out of bed and I tiptoed to my open bedroom door, and as I got closer, I heard my father screaming and yelling and swearing, and I saw my mum's face, complete terror, as she ran past me down the corridor. My father was chasing her with a knife. Now, my mum had had a few affairs in her life, and I believe that there was a very controlling relationship going on here. My father was a narcissist, and I believe that he had a lot of power and control over my mum, and she looked for love outside of that marriage. Now, I'm not condoning any of this. This is just facts and how it went down. So my father realised that this was one of the situations, and my mother had an affair, and he completely lost his mind and flew into a fit of rage. And so I watch as he's chasing my mum down the staircase, and I'm following behind, screaming and wondering what is going on. I'm 7 years old. And I watch my mum try and reach for the handle of the sliding door at the bottom of the staircase to try and escape, as my father drives the knife deep into my mother's back. Yeah, I saw it all. My siblings were all gathered around the bottom of the stairs, and my mother stumbled along the side path to the front of the house and collapsed to the ground. I saw my mum take her last breath. Within seconds, crowds of people, sirens, police officers were gathered around my mum's lifeless body. And I remember seeing my father in the distance driving off in the back of a police car. I can't even, it's all still there in my memory, of course, because our unconscious mind stores everything. Every experience we have in our life, our unconscious mind stores it. It stores it in what's called a timeline. And so, of course, this moment was just traumatic. We were whisked off, my siblings and I, to my cousin's house down the road, and as we sat on their lounge, I heard on the radio that a woman had been murdered. That was my mum. It was the most surreal moment, listening to this on the radio and just going, wow, is this really, this can't be right, this can't be true, this is a nightmare. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to, pinch myself and everything's going to be okay again. My mum's going to be here. But of course it wasn't. So within a matter of weeks, we were approached by a social worker, and we were told that we were going to be separated and put into foster homes. And I was terrified. I was terrified because I was already traumatized. I'd already lost my mum and my father, and now I was going to lose my siblings. And I was going to go into a strange house with strangers. I was completely terrified. And the first foster home I went to was a blessing because the foster mother was a Catholic woman and a single mum, and she had 2 young daughters. And I was completely traumatized when I arrived there. In fact, I was just out of control. I couldn't be restrained. That was how traumatized I was. And this woman was so compassionate and kind to me. And she used to read children's stories in bed with me at night. And these children's stories enabled me to escape the reality of my trauma for a while and into the story. And I believe without a doubt that is why I've become a children's author today. So the second foster home I went to, the father was an alcoholic. And I don't know what kind of screening went on back there, but he was an alcoholic and he was abusive. And I remember being locked in our room, my twin brother and I. So I stayed with my twin brother. And we were locked in our room at night. And I remember my sister coming to visit. And I heard the knocking on the door. And he went and answered the door. And he said to my sister, "You don't need to visit them anymore. They don't love you." And as she cried, the door shut. And I remember just banging on my door, screaming, trying to get out. Another moment in this foster home, the guy asked me to run a bath for one of the girls in the foster home. And I had no idea how to run a bath. I was 8 years old. And so I turned on the hot water. And the little girl got in the bath and she scalded herself. And of course, I was the blame for that. So the father took off his belt, pulled down my pants and belted me on my bare ass until I bled. That was the second foster home. Now we were just picked up, we were taken at random. There was no discussion. We get to put our stuff in a rubbish bag and we moved to a new foster home. New strangers, new house, new school. Just making friends with people at school, and then next minute we're leaving. We're moving again. And this was ongoing. It kept happening over and over and over and over. 13 schools, 13 foster homes. Change, 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 transformation. And while I was in school, I looked different, I acted different, I was traumatised. So I was a target for bullies, and I would be excluded from games. In fact, this hula hoop here, I used to watch the girls with their shiny hula hoops in the playground with envy. I used to want to hula hoop with them. And they'd say to me, well, you're just too stupid, you're too short, you can't hula hoop. And so I never tried. And I bought this hula hoop when I was 50 years old. And now I hula hoop, and I love it. You're never too old, ever. And so I was bullied at school, I was bashed, I was verbally abused for having the name Perfect. And then I would move. I would make a friend, and then I would move, and then I would move. The last foster home I went to was a huge homestead, and I was there for about 2.5 years. Massive homestead with about, 8 bedrooms or something. And the woman had something in for me, the mother of this foster home. I don't know why. She had her own 2 children, and one of her children was a girl, and she just had the most beautiful things in her bedroom. And I remember going in there and just wishing that I had these beautiful things like her daughter had. And I remember her saying to me, well, you don't deserve those beautiful things because you're just a piece of shit. Nobody wants you, nobody loves you, and that's why you don't deserve those things. One day a parcel arrived to this house, and I asked her what was in the parcel, just being a curious 12-year-old. And she turned to me and she said, how dare you ask me what is in that parcel? You're a nosy little bitch. And then she took me into the kitchen where we ate our breakfast, lunch and dinner as a whole foster family. And she made me write 1,000 times on a piece of paper that I'm a nosy little bitch. And then she cut these pieces of paper up and stuck them all over the wall where we ate our meals, so that the foster kids could tease me about those notes. A beautiful little girl came to little baby girl came to this home. Her name was Marama, and she was about 6 months old. And I remember this foster mum saying to me, Donna, this is your baby. You've got to look after her. I was 11, going on 12. I had no idea how babies were born. So I just believed her. I thought, well, she must be my baby. And she said, well, so you've got to look after her. You've got to feed her. You've got to change her nappies. You've got to bathe her. Everything. So over a period of, I think, about 3 or 4 months, I was looking after Marama. And I became so close to her. I was so bonded to her. She was like my connection, my human connection. And I felt loved. I felt needed. I felt wanted. And then one day I came home from school, and Marama was just gone. I went to the foster mum and I said, where's Marama? And she said, she's gone back to her family. And I said, what do you mean she's gone back to her family? I thought I was her family. And she said, no, you'll never see Marama again. And so far to date, I haven't found Marama again. But that was devastating for me because, again, I was separated, I was isolated, I was alone, I was abandoned. Then the most difficult decision came to me. The social worker came back into the foster home and he said, Donna, you've got 2 choices you need to make. You can stay in foster homes until you're 18 and free to leave, which pretty much meant cop all the abuse and the shit that I've dealt with for all my life in those foster homes, or you can go back to your father, who's been released from prison, back into the home where he murdered my mum. Just take a moment to have a think about that decision for a 12-year-old to make. It's not a decision any 12-year-old should have to make. I really struggled with that decision. But I wanted to be reunited with my siblings again. I wanted some stability in my life. I wanted some certainty. So I went back to my father. I went back to the home where my mother was murdered. I went back to the home where there were nightmares. I went back to the home where my mum was no longer, where her beautiful things were no longer. I went back to that house where I had nightmares recurring over and over again. In fact, these were like traumatic nightmares of the wallpaper trying to suffocate me. I remember waking up in delirious sweats, thinking that this wallpaper was coming in, closing in on me. This is all post-traumatic stress disorder. These are all symptoms of it. I had no counselling, no support. You were just told pretty much to get on with life. My father never spoke about it. He never spoke about the murder. He was an alcoholic. He drank every single night. He was unpredictable, and he was a schizophrenic. So you never knew from one day to the next what kind of mood he would be in. I'd come home from school, and he was pro-Nazi too, so he believed in the Aryan race and in Hitler. And he would be playing German records when I'd come home from school. Now this was when I was about 13, and I knew when I heard these German records that he was drunk, so I didn't want to go home. And he would drink himself to oblivion and be asleep by 7 or 8 at night. And I would just be left to my own devices. I'd have all this freedom, no curfews. My friends would say, wow, you're so lucky. No, I wasn't. Because you see, boundaries create love. They create certainty. They create security. Everything that was lacking in my life. So I was taking marijuana on a daily basis pretty much, and my friends thought that was cool too, you know. Oh wow, we've got all this endless supply of marijuana that my brothers were growing in the backyard. And that gave me an opportunity to numb all the pain that I was feeling. My father would even buy me alcohol to support his drinking problem. So I had alcohol, and this was a really bad situation for a teenager. And life was pretty crazy. I had some amazing friends in my life. I had some amazing friends in my life that I am so grateful for today, and they are still my friends. And Rachel and Sharon, you're two of those most important friends. And I'm going to get emotional because they didn't really know what I was going through. They really had no idea the adversity I was facing and what I'd been through. They had some idea, but not really to the extent. But they were there for me. They were my rock. They were my support. And I have no doubt that without them, I don't know where I'd be today. So I want to send you guys love. My father was so violent that my brothers and I, we had a survival plan while living with him. He was racially discriminating. He'd read the newspaper and he'd say to me, Donna, one of your black friends has raped somebody this morning. He'd play mind games with me all the time. And my brothers and I, we had a survival plan. We all had our muster stations in case of an emergency. So you can imagine living with a schizophrenic alcoholic murderer was just like constantly walking on eggshells. Never talking about it, never talking about Mum's death, nothing. And so he drunk himself to death when I was 17, my father. And I realised, probably within a year after that, when I had to support myself financially and find a job, that I was going down a really dark path. And I was the only one that could take responsibility for my life and turn it around. And so I reached out to Lifeline, and I started working through my childhood trauma. And it was an amazing, grateful healing process. I went to psychologists, I went to cognitive behavioural therapists, I had hypnotherapy. Rocky's saying hello. You're a beautiful puppy, aren't you? And I did everything you could imagine to try and shift this trauma, and it helped me immensely. And when I finished my counselling with Lifeline, I decided to actually become a volunteer Lifeline crisis counsellor. And I volunteered for 2 years on the phones in Sydney. And I took numerous suicide calls. I took calls from children that were abused, just like I had been as a child. And it was the most phenomenal experience for me. It was a defining moment, a turning point. I went and decided to go back to evening classes and sit my school certificate because I was a school dropout. I was a failure. 13 schools, I never did well at school. And so I went back to sit my school certificate, which enabled me to apply for an adult apprenticeship in clothing design. And I went to trade college and I did my trade certificate. And 3 years later, I got the top trade certificate marks in New Zealand. I won the Golden Shears Apprentice of the Year Award. A girl that never believed in herself, a girl that dropped out of school, a girl that was traumatised, a girl that went through what she did, got the top trade certificate marks in New Zealand. I was standing on the stage receiving my award from the Deputy Prime Minister of New Zealand, and I couldn't believe it. This was a defining moment in my life. Then I started as a sales rep for a textile company in Auckland, and I went and got my diploma in marketing and sales management. And within 3 years, they offered me the most incredible opportunity to come to Australia and set up their Australian operation and run it. All the naysayers in Auckland, all my family and friends said to me, "You can't do that. Aussies hate Kiwis, and you're going into a market where all of the clothing industry is going offshore to China, and so the market's shrinking, and you're going to get a slice of that market. You're crazy. You're dreaming." Well, not only did I do that, but I took that business from nothing to $1 million turnover. Determination, commitment, focus. Then I met my first husband. And we had 2 beautiful children that I am so blessed and grateful for today. Hamish and Jess. Hamish is 21. He is a fashion photographer and he is kicking goals like nothing else. Unbelievable. He works at the MX store and he is just smashing his dream to be an international fashion model fashion photographer. My daughter is in her final year of school. She had to sit in lockdown during her school year this year. She is going to miss out on schoolies this year. She's resilient. She's gone through a marriage breakup. When she was 4 years old, her dad and I separated, and I put her into Paradise Kids Grief and Loss program, which completely changed her life. It helped her to deal with the emotions that were sitting in her body where they are. And my children are just doing phenomenally well. She's going to university next year. She wants to be a teacher, and I'm so proud of them. I started then to qualify as a personal trainer. And I started that journey because I wanted to help children that were obese, that were being born with genetically with more fat cells, which I think is a very unfair disadvantage. I wanted to help children. Then I met my husband, Michael Bennett, an entertainer, an international comedian, a phenomenally talented man. And we started an incredible journey called the Dream Guards. I wanted to help kids to stand up to bullying because of my experience. I found these amazing tools that were born from a peaceful meditation, my peace tools, which have saved lives. Teenagers that have reached out to me saying they were suicidal, that because I shared my story with them, it turned their lives around. These peace tools have transformed adults and children's lives all over Australia and New Zealand, and I'm proud of that. I became a children's author, and I believe it's just amazing, this whole journey of being a children's author, because These children's books were channeled to me, and I believe they were channeled from my 7-year-old self who missed out on a childhood. And they're about my beautiful rescue dog who's right here, Rocky Rockstar, and my daughter. And the life lessons he teaches Jess about kindness and compassion. And I support Paradise Kids, who were the program that my daughter Jess went to, the grief and loss program, when she was 4 years old. And so a percentage of these books go to their beautiful service. But the money that I used to publish these books through Ocean Reeve Publishing was compensation money that came from the New Zealand government for all of the abuse that I received in foster homes for all those years. And it was almost to the dollar the amount of money that I put aside, this compensation money I put aside. I wanted it to make a positive impact on children's lives moving forward. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but it went aside. Then these books were channeled to me. And exactly to the dollar almost was what it cost to publish these 2 children's books, Puppy Rescue and Tiger, with Ocean Reeve Publishing. Now, if that's not purpose, if that's not a complete life circle, a transformation, a reason for being, I don't know what is. This year, my marriage broke up, unexpectedly, devastatingly. It hurt so much. I spent weeks just bawling and sitting in a corner in the fetal position. It hurt so deeply, and the way I was treated was not okay. And I had to make a really tough decision because I loved him. But I knew I had to step into my power, and I knew I had to respect myself and love who I am and stand up for myself. And so I had to decide that I was worthy of more. I was worthy of better. I had to find my love within me and stand up and be true to who I am. And that was really, really difficult to do. And then COVID happened. And so I am grieving through COVID, grieving the loss of my marriage, the loss of my dream guards, the dream guard wish, the dream guard dream. And I've just become an author, and now COVID's hit and I can't even get out and speak. I can't share my story. I can't share my author journey in a physical way. And there was this huge kind of like insecurity within me. All of my income was attached to my husband. I was managing his career, and then we were doing dream guards together. I had no income. But yet I had to pay for the rent. I had to pay for the cost of bringing up my 17-year-old daughter. And somehow I had to work out what am I going to do. I had to pivot. I had to find the resilience and courage and determination that I had displayed and experienced and gone through all of my life, all of my adversity over and over and over again in my life, and tap into it again. And I knew I could. And so can you. Each and every one of us has it. So I tapped into it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do some free workouts to people in lockdown to lift the vibrational energy of our universe, to lift mental health, to help people. These were called the happy home workouts with crazy, wacky, happy socks. I had people working out and exercising and, you know, finding a purpose in this crazy life that we're living. From that, I started to get people reaching out to me, wanting to do one-on-one workouts on Zoom while in lockdown. Shane Rudd is one of those amazing clients. She's a radio DJ, and her transformation has been phenomenal. So is mine. It has put me back into loving myself. It has put me into a place of honoring who I am, every aspect of myself, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, nutritionally. It has been a transformation, just like the beautiful dragonfly. And that is me. You see, I always thought Mum was the dragonfly that came to visit me. So many times I had experiences, and I can share so many stories of the dragonfly in really profound moments visiting me. And I thought that was my mum. But you know what? The dragonfly is me. It's my transformation. My life over these last few months has gone from this deep depths of despair to being on the top of the highest mountain in the world, looking out, being proud of my growth, being proud of how I'm helping others transform, because each and every one of you can. It just takes self-belief and self-love. It just takes a bit of strength, a bit of courage, a bit of determination, and some action to step out of victimhood, step out of self-pity, step out of feeling sorry for yourself. You know, lockdown, COVID is what it is. We don't have much control over it. What we do is how we look at it, how we choose to look at the situation, and how we choose to invest in ourselves right now and invest in our transformation. It's not anybody else's fault. It's not anybody else's responsibility. You can't blame anything or anyone on this. It's up to you to take action and have the best life you can now. So I told you it'd be a long one, and I wanted it to be a long one because I need to really get this message across, that we need to invest in our mindset. We need to invest in our peace and harmony. We need to invest in our physical fitness and our nutrition. And by doing that, not only are we going to transform our own lives and find our self-love, but this is going to have an amazing positive ripple effect on our family, on our friends, on our community, ecologically on our global family. You see, just like the beautiful dragonfly that sits about on the pond, creating this beautiful ripple effect, so can you. So if this has in any way inspired you to get off the couch, get out of victimhood, get out of self-pity, get out of feeling sorry for yourself, get out of blaming everybody out there, everything out there, COVID, whatever you want to blame it on, step into your power. Step into the courageous warrior and warrioress that you are, and live your best life now. You send me a PM, I'm going to help you do that, because I am that transformation. I am that dragonfly, and you can too. Sending you so much love today. I'll be replying to all your messages, and if you want to share this with your beautiful family, with your sisters and your brothers, so that we can create a beautiful positive ripple effect in our globe, find it in your heart to do that. I love you all. Peace out.